Welcome to the Game On podcast. I would like to have a check-in with Justin Coates, my co-founder, the brains behind the operation. I'm the ideas man. This guy's putting it together about where we're at, where we're going, and some highlights that we've had in Game On in the recent few weeks, just to bring you in and let you know what's happening. So the reality is we know that Game On isn't 100% complete. It may never be 100% complete, but in its infancy at this stage, we know that there's a couple of things that we desperately want to release in the new build that will be uploaded soon so that you can have it in your hands. And it looks incredible. It's stunning. It's beautiful. It's amazing. So brought Justin in. I just want to have a check-in. If we can rattle off a couple of things that's frustrating the hell out of you about where you want it to be and what's in this new build.
Yeah. There are definitely things rattling me about frustrations with the app at the moment. Obviously, about my current situation and everything that I've been going over, going through the last couple of weeks, and people who've been listening to the Go Team Live might have some sort of inkling of, the challenges that I was facing are heavy and things like that. But if not, it's
what are you talking about?
I'm
Tell
trying
us
to get
now.
into it. Trying to get into it. Oh,
Okay.
you are right,
Yeah,
okay.
don't gloss over it. Let's
I
just
thought
throw
you
it in
were
there.
I thought you
What
were
are you
breaking
talking
me off.
about?
Right, yeah. So I recently separated from my girlfriend of 5 years. It was relatively mutual, but it was also a little bit of, it's
Hard.
not, yeah, it's
Heavy.
difficult. It's not the way you want it to happen. And it was, I was lucky to be able to go through it with the mindset that I have. I feel like a lot of people, it could have been a lot worse, and there are plenty of examples where it is worse.
Well, can I
Um,
just say that when I was, helping Justin, wasn't really helping you through it, but I've been through this before. So I was commending you on how well you were managing it because I felt that the way you were dealing with it was like pieces of a puzzle, not unlike how you build your apps and technology.
yeah, part of me feels a little bit guilty sometimes because I do a lot of things that way, and I worry. Not so much anymore lately because this recently I've had a lot of discovery and answers sort of come to me through questioning of things, but I used to feel quite guilty treating life and other people and scenarios in my life that way. I was always worried that maybe it made me seem insensitive to certain things, but the case that was never the case. Like it was a part of a protection mechanism for me, but also a way to help protect other people too. To me, if I can take bits and pieces of a problem and try to find where they might fit in like a possible potential, and that's like something I sort of tried to come up with on my own as like the possibility of a potential. I see them as all being positive. So if I try to find a piece of any sort of problem or any sort of issue that can fit in like a positive slot, like, I'll always try to work that out first. And that's what I did. But I did feel slightly guilty, like, and I felt a bit of, um, I guess, yeah, mainly just guilt that perhaps, I should have been more emotional, or I should have been more of something that I wasn't. But truth is, I was emotional. It did hurt, like, and it was hard, but I was able to, go through it in like a logical way. And I was able to process my emotions logically before I was allowing them to, take over me, sort of thing. And if it wasn't for Game On, actually, I don't know what I would have been like. I think I would have been able to recover relatively quick, but I don't think I would have been able to start processing so quickly. Um, the idea of Game On itself, like, practicing gratitude in the day, first thing in the morning. There's people who may argue that practicing it in the morning isn't as good as practicing it at night or different times of the day, because maybe you can't predict the gratitude. But it's not about that. It's not about predicting. It's about setting a statement, for the day. It's about recording something so that later on in the day, you can be like, oh, yeah, wait, like, but you don't even have to think about it. It's there, it's done. So the idea of, building Game On, whilst building it, I've also been doing it and engaging it and utilizing it and learning it, and and it's been speeding up my self-development process. So that's really helped as well. But in all honesty, it was hard. It was difficult, and I was so grateful that I had Game On and that I had people to support me if I needed them. And you, Peter, especially, like coming out to me or just double checking and just being like, "Are you sure? Like, how are you so okay about this?" And things. It did make me feel really good, and it helped, embody in me that I was handling things the way that I needed to be handling, and that I was correct in the way I was doing things in myself. So it was good to just have that reinforcement. Even though ideally, you shouldn't need it, but it was good to have that. And in saying that, like, the outcome of that challenge has been that, things have now been stressful, like there's the cost of living pressure's gone up, like in general for everybody. But, on my side of things personally, for me, it's like, well, now I was doing things on my own there for a little bit. And, then my dad's come in and now he's helping me out a bit. And that's awesome. I love my dad and we get to hang out a bit. But there's also now the shift of my time again. And it's like trying to manage that effectively, but also trying to still do quite a lot of it on my own compared to how it was. And so I've had to, start bouncing between different tasks and different jobs and different things. And one of my big things is like, I love using Game On. And today is a perfect example of one of the biggest stresses for me with Game On, and biggest annoyances with it is I got all the way through my entry. It's right at the very end, and my phone popped up with a little message saying that it was on 20% battery. And then when I pressed close, the app refreshed and crashed. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I lost my entry. And I was like, you know what? And it happens to me quite often. It really does. And the very first version of the app, it didn't happen. And we had saved drafts, and then we had to migrate to different things. And then things change, and it's like, oh damn. So that's one of the big frustrations for me. But there are, it's a relatively easy thing to resolve and fix. But at the same time, because it's no longer being fixed just for one device like Apple, it's being fixed for Android, which is a completely different build and different system. I'm sort of in this spot where it's like, well, okay, well, do I do Apple and then Android and let them take the time and do both of those one after the other? Or do I finish what I'm doing with the current build, take my time with it, make sure things are working the way it needs to be working, and then release one big thing all at once and fix it up and there be no issues? So that was one of the well, that is one of the big questions I sort of ask myself on a daily basis is, am I doing it the right way? I think I am. And a lot of my tech mates and guys are kind of on my case about, no, you are, like, you're doing it the way you should be doing it. But the only difference is you're doing it solo. It's going to take some time. So it's good to get, again, that sort of reinforcement. But I think it's also good that I have belief that I'm doing it the way I need to be doing it. It is frustrating, though, I will say, not being able to use Game On the way I want to be using it, and then I want other people to be able to be using it, and the experience that I want other people to have, and experience I want to deliver to you as well, as like the guy who came up with it, is like, you're still like my number one target market, Peter, because like it is your thing. I'm trying to get your vision there. But so it is very frustrating, and it is honestly, it might not seem like it at times, but it is my number one priority to bring this out as best as I can still. It's just very challenging managing this and also trying to, you know, just live every day and do all the
all the things.
the shit you gotta
You know,
do.
I think the one thing that I think people need to know about is the non-doing timer and how that's a challenge, and that's going to be a fix in the new release.
There's a few things with the notification timer. Well, there's quite a few things in general. But with the notification specifically, initially, I completely overlooked the fact that we would probably get people from around the world so quickly. And it sort of was like a thing that kind of dropped off my radar a bit. And as much as it's not too difficult to transition or convert the time zone that I'm recording in the back end to what their real time zone is, it originally started as like an issue of privacy. And I was like, okay, well, what sort of data do we want to collect? We don't really want any reason for anyone to try and hack us or anything like that and all that sort of stuff. So I made sure the way I set up the back end was like if somebody did try to get in and get public data or whatever, it's just all like random. Like people don't actually know what they're looking at. So by the time it comes into the app, it looks, nice and clean and different. But outside of the app, it would look a bit mumble jumbled and no one really understand it. But what happens is when the first sort of, I guess, select couple of people started joining the app, we hadn't catered for different time zones. So there was no record of it in like a user file or anything like that at all. So then came an issue where we had the Mug Mastermind with the first people that came on from overseas, and we were like, oh wait, and it dawned on me, if they've set an organized non-doing time to go off at 10 a.m., I've programmed that in to be 10 a.m. Perth time. That's like midnight for them. That's a completely different time. It's like, so you can imagine how it would do the complete opposite effect of what it's intended to do. But so rather than, I guess kind of tarnish the potential reputation of the app, I decided to just lock that away temporarily until we had a resolving fix for it. And then obviously Android, the build for Android came out as like the early alpha build, and there's some strange limitations on there that I was trying to work out that didn't really record time zones too well. But it is something that I've addressed in the current fix, and it is something that will come out as being able to work. And there is another thing as well. A lot of the people that are on Game On doing the entries themselves, they have to allow notifications. I've made it a requirement. And at first I thought that this was what we wanted, but ultimately I think a lot of people get to that point and say, I don't want notifications, and then they can't make an entry. So then they don't. And that kind of like takes away from, the potential of people actually publicly, getting on board and, making use of Game On. But then, by not allowing notification, it also takes away part of that experience as well. So finding a balance between there is something we need to test out a little bit. But the new update does address quite a lot of things like crashes, the notifications, features, joining teams, leaving teams, managing teams. The feed is a bit more updated. There's some, content in between entries. There's easier ways to sort of connect with written moments, like as kind of posts. There's also an easier way to, view the teams that you're in rather than, trying to figure out how to see where your teams are. So it made it more intuitive and easy to sort of just to use. So I am really looking forward to bringing it out, and I've designed it with the idea in mind, the layout of, I'd be happy to use that as my social media. I'd be happy to go on there and use Game On as my method of, like just reaching out to the world, but through myself. So yeah, it's yeah, it's I'm looking
Huge,
forward
man.
to it.
That's a lot of things.
It
So
is.
I'm not going to press you for a date, and this recording may come out at any stage, but just know that we're working on some pretty special updates, and I've seen the new platform, and it's stunning. It's beautiful, and it's yeah, like Justin was saying, it's going to captivate your attention, because there's more value there. Um, so yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was we had a someone reach out to us on our Facebook page and just asking Justin to take down their post because they thought they didn't realize it was going to be on the public feed for their first post. And it was our time, late night, early morning when it was posted. And Justin, being the tech guru side of the business, was up. And he was the only one on the planet that read that post. So while they were worried about it being public, the only one that got to read it was Justin. And then, so I caught up with the message the next day, and Justin had already messaged back to them and said, "Yeah, no problem. I can take that off the feed as their request." But then he went on to say how the post was actually something that resonated deeply with how he was feeling at the time with his own relationship. So it was a relationship post about wanting the best for their ex, and as much as the challenges of life present, that when you love somebody and they move on from your sphere, you don't, you still hold a piece of your heart with them and you wish them well, as much as things didn't necessarily work out. And the way that really genuinely resonated with Justin, I was like, oh, well, why don't you tell her that it actually resonated with you? And that's kind of what Game On is about. It's about actually having that connective tissue, and we're all in this together. And so tell us, Justin, how that like went down for you and what happened in the end.
Yeah, so that was incredible. And that is like the underlying foundation of, I think, what can come from Game On. And the fact that it happened to happen the way it did, me being the it was like the perfect experiment unintentionally. And so yeah, as you said, like there was this message, this I just saw Game On randomly at about 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. And I saw this entry and I read it and I was like, as soon as I read it, I was like, wow, are you kidding? I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, this is exactly what I'm feeling. And I was blown away. I was like, I never thought I'd been feeling guilty about feeling okay with the fact that my ex-partner was happy with somebody else and like that there was something wrong with me and all this. And I saw this entry, and I won't completely go into what the entry was because I did remove it as requested, but it was basically along those same lines. And I thought I never would have imagined that there was somebody else feeling the same way about questioning the way they feel about those feelings. And I was like, that is huge. That is crazy. That is nuts. And being in so late at night, I thought, oh, they must be over the other side of the planet. Like this is crazy. I was like, such a small world. It's crazy. And then it wasn't very long after, it was probably like 5 or so minutes after that I saw on Facebook we had the support message. And then I was like, oh, this is the person. And there was the request to take it down, and I took it down, and I was really awesome about it. And then and it got all done. And I did try to sway them to keep it on. I did try to say you could hide your name, like keep it on. It's great. But they were adamant they wanted it gone. So I was like, okay. And then, yeah, as you said, you saw the message the next morning and you gave me your props for that. And that was awesome. And then, yeah, I said to you, like, because you hadn't seen the entry, I told you what it was about. And you're like, why don't you tell her? And I had wanted to, but I was also worried. I also didn't want to feel like I was, you know, assuming, even though it was pretty clear, I didn't want to assume, or didn't want somebody to be like, oh, how can you assume that you know what I'm feeling, blah blah.
Mm.
But you said just say it. What's the worst gonna happen? Just do it. Just say it. And you really you pushed me to
I was
do it,
so
and I was like,
moved, and
yeah, yeah,
I was so
exactly,
happy that you
yeah.
were so moved.
I was legit moved, and then I was really happy that you were like, yeah, do it, because you had sort of confirmed, like, with me in my head, I thought it would be okay, but I just didn't know. And then hearing you say it's like, yeah, do it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it is okay, I'll do it. And then I said it to her. I said, hey, look, like I really resonated with that. I know that, you were a little bit embarrassed about it being public, but like it hit me. It really hit me. I feel the same way, which is insane because I never thought, and basically what I just described and said all this. And then the response was huge. The response was like that of, like we're like twin souls, like we, in that moment, we just completely understood where we were at with that specific type of feeling and that sort of direction we were going in. And it was just, it was really awesome. And I feel like even now, I've just got this undeniable connection of sorts with this person based on how we can approach a situation like that, and how we can, you know, provide, I guess, an example to that feeling. It's kind of like, if I was to say, oh, I feel really anxious, and you were like, oh, I feel really anxious too. And I said, yeah, but I feel really anxious about this. And you said, oh, I feel really anxious about this. They're two different meanings, but to find like that you have the exact same meaning for that name of that feeling is pretty special. It's like, it's pretty wild to know that, that someone knows exactly what that feels like the same way you do, in a sense. So that was huge and incredible and mind-blowing. And now and now now that they're not embarrassed anymore to post their feelings, and they've embraced it and they're loving it and they're kicking ass. It's great. So it's awesome.
That's
It is
so good.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't be happier with the way that's turned out. And obviously, we respect everyone's privacy and but
Yeah.
there's another like thread to that is people kind of look at Game On as maybe being the level of vulnerability to post a public journal entry is too great for, people that, don't normally do this sort of work. But I think the reality is there's one question where you may potentially have to be vulnerable, and that's I'm aware that I currently feel. And as much as that is a feeling of which we're being taught the majority of our lives to, move on from our feelings and not, go there because, we haven't got time or no one cares or, you know, it's not valid. Obviously, in this modern age, we're moving forward with mental health and our ability to be able to connect the dots with, we're an emotional body and we need to express ourselves to be able to to be able to navigate this world in a full and resilient way because we can move on. I know that from my studying into journaling is that when you write a negative thought down, it dissipates the negative thought, and if you write down a positive thought or feeling, then you've got that ability to be able to prioritize and amplify the way that you are in that moment. But yeah, that I think people get caught up being scared of this potential to be judged or just that. And it's not common for people to be journaling in public, but the essence of being able to resonate with each other in the steps, and that one literally, it may be the more vulnerable step of them all, but it's also where the most growth and the magic comes from. And it can take a little bit to get comfortable with, but by looking at other people's posts in the community and seeing where they take their journaling process and the steps and the depth that they go to with answering the question is inspirational. And you kind of feel that and you go, oh, they went there, and then it brings you up a level. And that is part of the Game On magic, is learning and growing and becoming more comfortable with your personal development process that we have in this system. So yeah, it's all kind of coming together. We could only dream of creating like that sort of resonance and personal journey development. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. But I just want to speak to the fact that it becomes much easier to post on Game On as you go along, and the more you do, the more you get the opportunity to just go a little deeper into your questions. And we're all here for you. We're all feeling the same way. We've all been there, and it really does make a positive effect on your life.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things I find myself, and I mean, who knows, you might be able to help me with this question, because as the creator of the Game On system itself, maybe I've been doing it wrong this whole time, who knows? But
You can't do it
I
wrong.
well, yes, that's what I tell myself. I do find that sometimes when I get to the awareness stage I'm aware of, I find myself trying to look for something deep, and I catch myself and like, well, why am I looking for a deep feeling right now when I'm feeling good? Why am I looking for a thing that I'm stressing about when I haven't got anything to stress about? Like, why can't I just be okay with writing, I'm aware that I feel great? And the thing is, I, I imagine a lot of people, maybe, and I could be completely wrong, I imagine a lot of people probably do the same thing. They see, I'm aware I'm feeling, and instantly start thinking that they need to address some deep feelings when you don't necessarily need to. You take steps, and when you're in the zone writing your entry, it's supposed to be what you're feeling. It's not supposed to be what you think you're gonna be feeling later. It's just, if you're feeling great, you're feeling great. If you sit there and reflect, and and it doesn't even have to be one feeling. It's like, I feel great, but I am really nervous about this too. But I feel great. It's like, but I do find myself trying to sometimes dig deeper, even it's like I'm searching for more, but I think that's a good sign that it's actually working, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm not pushing anything aside. So
You are an artist, and artists always want to, kind of dig deep and find something dark and broody to bring to the world. But the reality is, I think, it's natural for people to consider that, the negative is where journaling starts. People who journal are people that are troubled souls, or people that need help, or they're in a bad way. Because there's been times where you've been journaling in a dark state and it helped you out of that dark state. And so people kind of connect the dots where journaling is for a dark state. But you're right, there are times where we question, what are we answering, and how am I answering this, and is this of value to me or to others if I'm going to answer my question like this? But the simple truth is, what you were saying is just practicing being in the present and being honest with where you're at is the key. And by naming the feeling, you're actually able to, go deeper into where you currently are, where you honestly are. And that can be so cathartic or rewarding, because if you are in a positive place, then celebrate that moment, because we're not always there. If we're in a negative place, you're able to deal with that. The cognitive move of the brain to be able to take us out of that negative state by having a different perspective on where we're at, and changing, into the third person and becoming your own life coach by going, okay, so I'm feeling a negative feeling. And the next step in Game On is intention. And by actually having the intention after the feeling, it helps you on that step of becoming a your own personal life super coach, because you have the opportunity to go, right, I'm feeling this way. Now, what do I need to do? And that gives you that, that platform and that foundation to go, right, I'm honestly aware that I'm feeling this, and now I need to do this. And that is such an epic combination of things.
Yeah.
That flow on effect of gratitude. All right, so I've got this. I feel supported. There's good things in my life. I feel potentially, struggling in this aspect of my life, or I feel great. All right, so now I'm going to do this and this, and I'm either going to write myself a new story and get myself out of this negative state, or I'm going to prioritize whatever it was to get me in that positive place, because this kicks ass. My life right now is amazing, and I'm going to keep that going with this step and this step. And life just keeps getting better and better for me with this work that I'm doing, with this community I'm in. And like, it just creates this beautiful process that
Yeah.
Game On really has that potential to offer so many people.
100% agree. 100%. And touching on a little bit of that as well, it was funny today, and I'll be real here and be a little bit vulnerable, but before about an hour and a half before we started the podcast with Davey, I was jumping out of the shower, and I was trying to clear my head a little bit, and I was trying to, just I don't know, I was just trying to run down my week, because I've been trying to treat, these Wednesday nights as like cycles, like points in a cycle that I can look at. And getting in the shower, and I was just thinking, and then randomly, out of the blue, I had this thought, and I was like, "Oh, that's not needed. I'm not needed. I'm not needed. I don't need to do that." And I was like, "Whoa, that's a pretty intrusive thought." I was like, "It's little in that sense, the way I was thinking about it. Like, oh, that's not needed from me. I'm not needed there." And I was like, "Okay," but then I was able to then be like, if I just let that thought go, though, I'm not needed there. And sure, it's about maybe overreaching and saying, "Oh, have a great day," like to someone, right? And it's like, "Oh, they don't need that from me. They don't need me. They don't need me to say that." But if I took that and I just accepted that and didn't send a message or didn't whatever, and I let that linger, like, could you imagine what that could have turned into?
Mm.
You know, and even touching on the session with Davey today, when he was like, "What's that state, your being state?" The question I found myself coming to was wanted, desired, needed, required. And I was like, yeah, enough. Yeah. It all sort of goes back to that, but it's like, what is your definition of enough? Where does that question flow? And
Mm.
and yeah, so but yeah, like a little bit of vulnerability there. It is huge when you start piecing together gratitude, from gratitude to awareness to your intention, and then your mindfulness. And then even the way I like to treat non-doing, the organized non-doing, is like it's that time of the day to actually look back and just sort of reflect on the moment you were in at when you did your entry. To me, that's how I sort of treat it. And I kind of try to encompass just that moment and this current moment together, but I try to like just prioritize the moment.
Mm.
And where I was going with that was sometimes, like today, when I couldn't get my entry out, you do you, even if you can't get it out there, you, by doing it and practicing it and by acknowledging it and believing in it, you are teaching yourself like how to pick up on these things. Like you are teaching yourself how to identify these negative thoughts or negative patterns, or and you're also teaching yourself how to break those patterns and how to shape things better for yourself. You might not ever fully be able to control things outside of your control, but internally, like your mind, like the more you do it, the better you get at it. And you get pretty kick ass at it if you keep going. So it is huge. It is huge. And it's an amazing system.
But that's it. Like the system works.
It,
And, you're working on making it more beautiful, more functional, and, more available, accessible. But the system in its absolute core, you know, root purpose is doing its thing. So yeah,
yeah.
we're hanging on for dear life to this baby, and we're giving her all the sunshine we can give her, and it may be taking longer than we ever imagined to get to this point, but we've absolute faith that not only is our lives improving, but we see people's um, entries and their experiences and their enthusiasm for Game On to be there to keep us feeling like we're on the right path. So I thank you, Justin, for joining us today for this chat, because it's been, pretty deep, pretty awesome. And I really appreciate you and the hard yards you're putting in. And I give you all the rope you need to be able to, do the work that you do. And I appreciate how difficult it can be and how intricate and, wide ranging, the technologies are. So thank you, my man. I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. We're in a position now where I've got all this extended leeway, but at the same time, I also appreciate the time pressure of it. For me personally, is I really want to deliver an experience that people can benefit from the system, because like I see it work. I see it work every day in myself, in the people that use it. And and I'm honestly just so grateful that I'm able to work on it, to be honest with you. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know what I'd be doing if I didn't discover it. I don't really care what I'd be doing if I didn't discover it and come into contact with you. But, I can't really imagine what it would have been like. It probably would have been a lot different. And I might still be on the same path in a different way. But, I'm truly grateful that I got to meet you, that I know you, that I can call you a friend. I can say I love you as a person, and that you're like an amazing person. And to me, you're killing it every day. Like you're doing what you need to do. I know that, you beat yourself up a little bit, as do I, as do a lot of people. But from my standpoint, you are killing it. You're doing what you need to do for family. You're doing what you need to do for yourself. You have a vision, you have a plan, you have what you want to be doing, and you're working towards it at your own pace, and it's getting quicker and it's getting better and it's getting there. And honestly, I appreciate everything you do, everything you say, and everything you've taught me.
Hmm. Huge, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, we are absolutely the luckiest guys alive to have met and putting this, team together. And yeah, I tell people, you're obviously one in 6 billion people plus some. So yeah, I'd never be in the position I am now to be able to find a co-founder that's so optimistic, enthusiastic, speaks my language, and you're, as much as you live close to an hour away, you're only an hour away. um and yeah, we are absolutely loving life, working on this. So thanks to everyone or anyone that's listening.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I hope you got something from the update and feeling the buzz as well as we do. And thank you for your time and your support. It
Yeah.
means the world to us. And hopefully you can reach out, hit us review on the platform you're listening to the podcast. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. This is all about family. This is all about gathering a community that is resonating and connecting and working together to find our way to win the day. Can't ask for more than that. So thank you so much for your time. Love your work. Go team.
Go team.
You.
You.